Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about 9 painful mistakes I made learning languages as a Muslim. Now, these are the main mistakes I made when I was trying to learn the language by myself, and I feel I have learned so much and I definitely want to share it in today's video. So I just want to say welcome. On this channel, I share my journey learning languages as a Muslim. Now, number one is don't listen to people when they say a language is too hard. This is one of the most common things I hear, especially when someone's trying to learn Arabic. Oh, it's very hard, you're not going to be able to learn it and things like that. And it's not necessarily about it being hard, and it's just about having the right approach and giving yourself enough time. And I remember Lingo Steve, which is like a channel I follow, who's talking about, there was this neuroscientist, I think, or someone that kind of does a lot of research in the brain, and he was saying how it's impossible for your brain not to learn something if you just keep working at it all the time. And that means you don't necessarily have to get a book and study 10-20 hours a day or something, but just doing a little bit regularly and often, you will pick up a good grasp of the language. And so for example, like if you spent 15 minutes a day for a whole year just trying to learn Arabic, almost doesn't matter what you do, you will pick up that language. And another thing is giving up too early. Now, this is something I wish I had just kept going when I started learning Arabic a while ago. This was probably over 10 years ago. I probably would have picked up quite a bit. So just doing little and often. So like if I was finding it hard to do 1 hour a day, reduce it to half an hour, even 15 minutes, just trying to get that little bit going every day and just building up that streak. So which is something I'm able to do now with Duo Lingo and just with other little bits as well. So it's like, as I mentioned earlier with what Lingo Steve said, it's impossible not to learn the language if you are doing a little bit every day, and almost doesn't matter what you do. Number 3 is I was setting up unrealistic self-study plans. So I was going to say I was going to do 2-3 hours a day, and with a language, it's like when you're kind of getting into it, your brain needs time to memorize things and get used to things and stuff like that. And my brain was just getting fried, and I couldn't really kind of get into the language like that. So definitely reducing it down, and then so what I'd find is like I try and do 2-3 hours and then I just sort of quit. So now it's much better just do 5-10 minutes a day, and it does actually build up. You've got to kind of get over that thing. Just think 5 minutes ain't going to make a difference, 10 minutes ain't going to be a difference, but it actually does, and it just builds up every single day. Number 4 is just using books and materials that were too difficult and too boring. And now I kind of use Duolingo instead mainly, and like watching films and things like that. And I remember when I first started doing Arabic, we had this book that was like really like boring, and you just had to like loads of lists of words and things like that. And it just kind of got had words like accountants and like photographers and words that I wasn't going to really kind of use. And the other book that I had really good sort of success with at the start was the Assimil book, which was really good, but then started getting too complicated and difficult for me. And I think that's what makes people sort of give up a language, like when it starts to get really kind of more difficult and your brain still kind of like create those connections and stuff like that. And at that stage, it's like what I've learned is that it's important to just kind of change the approach and try something else and try and make it easier. So Duolingo is really good. So just trying to do a little bit every day, and definitely what I recommend most people sort of start with. And it just kind of helps because it can get frustrating when you're learning a language, and there's so many different terms and things like that to learn, and it's all about kind of reducing it down and just trying to do little and often. Number 5 is memorizing long lists of vocabulary and grammar rules. So when I first started learning Arabic, and I had a teacher, at the end of the chapter, there's a whole bunch of words you had to memorize, and plus within each chapter there's loads of grammar rules, and then I sort of struggled to learn that throughout the week, and then the next week I'd have another chapter with more grammar rules and more vocabulary, and then the problem would just get worse and worse and worse. So it's just kind of memorizing lots of things is very kind of difficult. So it's just about having lots of repetition, just learning kind of little things, and just kind of just working at it bit by bit, not just having long lists of stuff. Like it's nice just to have sentences and just kind of just keep going over it and over it and over it. Don't force yourself to kind of memorize things, because your brain won't just pick up stuff just by going over it, by going through long lists of words. It's much better if you kind of see it in context and just kind of just go over it in a more kind of natural way, and not expecting to recall it from your brain all the time, because it just makes it too difficult. Number 6 is not giving feedback to my tutor about the lessons when they were not sort of working. So as I mentioned before, like we were using this old difficult book, and like it required me to kind of learn a lot of stuff and memorize a lot of words and stuff, and it was like too much. So definitely I should have fed that back to the tutor, but I thought the tutor knew what was best, and it's a case of just kind of continuing and striving on, and it would get easier. But I think the approach was totally wrong, and now I've got my tutor on Preply, so Fuzi, and like we've kind of developed a really good relationship, and I kind of really tell him and question things and stuff like that. And sometimes he'll say, look, just trust me, let's try this. And then, you know, and he's been right as well. Like we were doing things about certain conjugation, and that's kind of really helped. And I was kind of not wanted to do that initially. I just wanted to do just more natural go over sentences and stuff like that. But we don't kind of really focus on memorization. It's just about going through sentences, reading, learning little bits of grammar, and it's not about then the next time I need to be able to memorize all that stuff. We'll kind of go through it again and see how I know. It's just about going through it over and over again. And the next thing I would say is trying to talk too early with people. So talking is one of the most difficult things with language learning, because, you know, you have to understand what the other person's saying to you. You then have to kind of sort of translate that in your head and then come up with words to respond to that people. And that can induce a lot of sort of anxiety and stress and things like that. And to be honest with you, I mean, language learning, that's one of the main reasons why I want to learn the languages, so I can speak to other people and communicate with them in their own language. It's such an amazing thing to be able to do. And I did that a little bit in France when I went there recently. So, yeah, it's just about, not doing that too early. Just focus on listening. Listening is really important, reading and things like that. And, you know, and then eventually that will come when the time is right. And number 8 is just worrying about not understanding everything. Like, you know, I'd listen to a TV show or I'd be reading something and, you know, I'd worry, oh my God, I don't understand any of this. And that's totally normal. That's going to happen. And the case is just to kind of keep going through that, especially when I'm watching something and I'm, oh my God, what is going on? I have no idea. And then I try and put subtitles on. I'd start to look up words and things like that. It just kind of gets too start, stoppy. Now I just leave a show on. I probably don't understand a lot of it, but then I just sort of carry on watching it. So like there's Tour de France Unchanged, which is all about the Tour de France, really cool. There's bits in there where there's people kind of speaking French and stuff like that, and I don't understand some of it, but then little bits I do. So it's just about just constant exposure and just getting comfortable with not understanding everything, which is totally fine. But however, if it does go too difficult, like if it's something like super, you're reading a book and it's like super difficult, then I don't think that's a good idea. But it's about just slowly building it up, and don't worry about not understanding everything. And when you're watching a TV show, it's naturally not going to watch anything, but it's just about getting that exposure, and that will definitely help later on when it comes to talking and understanding things. And number 9 is not taking it easy on myself. I used to kind of really get down on myself. Oh my gosh, why don't I understand this? Why am I not memorizing that? But language learning doesn't work like that. We need to take it easy on ourselves. We need to be positive. The most important thing is just to keep going. That is the most important thing, and not overthinking things and thinking, oh my gosh, why isn't this working? Why is this going? And maybe thinking about changing the approach, maybe reducing the amount of lessons. But the most important thing is just to stick at it and keep going. So yeah, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. Assalamu alaikum.